Hello, welcome all to yet another episode of Live Talk with Alumni series. Today we have Saurav Kunal sir as our guest. I'm your host Aman Kumar Bharti for today. So, at first, I would like to congratulate Saurav sir for scoring a cybersecurity internship at ABB Bangalore. So, sir,
Thank you, Aman.
I got to know today itself.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So, sir, tell us more about your story, like how CSC in BTech in CSC helped you in cybersecurity, and what was your journey till masters, and what are your future endeavors?
Hello,
Hello.
Hello,
Aman.
sir.
Uh,
Aman.
There's a issue with the network, I think. अरे यार.
अमन तो ऐसा कर दे। तू अपना वो कर दे, वीडियो ऑफ कर दे, डायरेक्ट वो ये नॉर्मल ऑडियो से ही ले
ठीक
okay.
है.
इंटरव्यू।
सर का ही रखते हैं बीच में. मेरा अभी थोड़ा यहाँ पे बारिश हो रही है ना, इस वजह से दिक्कत आ रही है. तो okay. Tell us more about your journey in CSE, like how BTech in CSE got you an advantage in cybersecurity industry, and tell us more about this internship. And uh, yes,
As you all know, I'm pursuing masters in cybersecurity from GFSC. Well, I'm your senior, as you all know, and as of now, I'm looking forward to join ABB as you told. Because of COVID-19, there has been a problem. My join dates are shifted for 2 months ahead. So I started as in like if you are asking about the field or the masters, the field was always my first choice, uh, just because of rules. And 8th semester internship was actually a bonus for me, a very good opportunity for me to serve the nation. I was actually working in Research Center Imarat, DRDO in Hyderabad, the place where we were living. It was very hard for us to use the internet over there, and I was actually looking for different colleges where I can apply, and I was applying for different colleges abroad. I had no thinking of means applying any colleges in India. So I'll be very thankful for Arijit, my friend. You might have had his lectures few weeks ago, I suppose. So we were applying together for the colleges in the beginning. Soon he got selected in IIM, and he was going there. And after that, I was returning to my home. I got to know about this college, and I was in train. I was in Kolkata railway station. I just opened my laptop. I filled for this college because that was the last day itself. And after filling this whole form, there was an exam to be conducted in the next week itself. So I had to take a flight. I just took a flight 2 days before the exam. I reached here in Gujarat and just gave the exam. And they said after the exam, the results will be out within 2 days. So please be ready with the documents if you get selected. So I had to cancel my returning flight. I was staying here, and meanwhile, I had some few interviews in colleges abroad. I also got admission in some colleges of Italy. Um, then I had only two options. One like whether I am going abroad or I'll be staying in India. So and the second option was for me was the course curriculum. The colleges abroad were not giving the means wherever I got selection, I never got any subjects like any field like cybersecurity, and my cybersecurity was my first preference. So in GFSU, I got masters in cybersecurity, so I had no other reason to go anywhere else if I am getting something in our country. So it was better for me to join here. That's it, Aman.
Sir, I would like to ask, like, GFSU requires gate examination or they conduct their own exam?
See, there is two way to enter in this college. First of all, obviously there is a gate for those students who have qualified gate. They can directly get admission over here. They can just apply with their gate score. And other students who have not qualified or have not appeared for the gate exam, they can appear for the exam which is conducted by the college itself. Just before 10 or 20 days before the admissions, they take the examinations. You can see the updates in the college website.
Okay, sir. Sir, also I would like to ask you about the expectations versus reality in context of masters. And you are doing a masters in cybersecurity and incidents response, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
enlighten
So
us about the expectations and realities.
see, expectation was too much when I joined Triple IT itself, and you all know what could have happened after that. I have made a note to myself after that I'll stop expecting too much. As of any education system, we can't just rely on the faculties or the college. We have to learn everything ourselves. To be honest, I had very little expectation from college side, but I had faith I can do it myself. So due to my surprise, but when I came here, I saw the course curriculum after that, not before coming over here. I actually learned a lot of things from here, and the atmosphere over here is very amazing. We have a cyber defense center over here where actually we practice red teaming and blue teaming. We form into a group of red teams and the blue teams, and we perform attacks, and the other one just protects themselves from the attack. Also, we have an added advantage of having so many MOUs with different countries in this college. So it's like we are studying with a bunch of police officers from various countries, some Indian Air Force officers, and other experienced colleagues of mine are also over here. So it's a very good exposure which I am getting here. Security is important, as we all know, but it's very important. I understood it here. As a part time, I also closely worked with a mall group in Gujarat to solve their security issues. Actually, several attacks were occurring overnight. At the peak time, they were noticing a flooding, sin packet floodings and all. So they actually called us for seeing what is happening and what measures we can take. So see, we found so many things over there. First of all, we saw the systems they were using were totally outdated. We found there some hardware vulnerabilities over there. Some routers were outdated. Some uh, other devices like their firewall was also outdated and all sort of things. And um, the first thing we went there and did was just isolated their systems, updated the firewall, uh, brought a new one, and then made rules overnight. We were there for 2 3 days. We were from morning to night. We were working with them, and we were like, we have to do it because this was our first project kind of thing, and some live environment we were getting, and we wanted to do it very well. So now he asked about the incident response thing. Actually, what I did in this live environment, what measures I took, this is actually the incident response, which any after any attack we have to do. Yes, Aman.
Yeah. Sir, also we hear a lot about the certifications, like you have to complete your CH, OSCP, etc. to get into cybersecurity. How do you compare like masters in cybersecurity versus the certificate in the field? Like which give you an edge in the interview or job?
See, this is a very good question. Um, but this actually depends upon the individuals. If you want a very quickest route, means you are having some experience on this field from before, you have been practicing cyber security from years, then doing certification will be an added advantage. But if you want to do means learn something, practice more and more, and you are a fresher, you should join some degree courses, do masters, and learn as much as you can. That only you can do it or after completing masters and all. That is it. And there is so many courses. I can see that CEH and all which you mentioned, they actually need some years of experience before applying, so you can't just apply for any such courses. You need some years of experience. That is it.
Okay, sir. Sir, also, can you give a little bit more detail on the subdomains of cybersecurity? Like, what are the different types of domains under the umbrella cybersecurity?
Okay, so see, cybersecurity is a very broad domain. If you would like to have some subdomains, we can have a number of classifications. But see, IoT is there, cloud is there, ICS SCADA is there, blockchain is there. These new technologies, AI, ML, then biometric devices, virtual reality, quantum computing, threat intelligence, this kind of things, makes a subdomains. But this is not limited. There are so many things like homeland, maritime, and all. Those things can also be considered as a subdomain in cybersecurity. Every day we can see a new attacks, which is known as zero-day attacks, which you might be aware of. So those kind of things are always being added into this, and those can also be called as a subdomain.
Yeah, we had a 0 day today in Apple sign in.
Hmm.
So that's pretty big
Yeah.
news.
Mhm.
So also, sir,
Yeah.
we often hear like hackers start at a very young age. Is there any story that you'd like to share?
Yeah. Okay. See, not my story, but I would like to share some story of 1337 in brief, obviously, because we actually don't have lots of time. So actually, there was a bulletin board system, BBS actually is called as, where a bunch of people were having an idea to keep things limited to them. Only to the elite members they'll give access to some particular folders and all. So the word elite, from there, people have derived a word which is known as LEET, LEET, and this LEET is written as 1337. It's generally a internet slang which often people use in this computer gaming and all, and in cyber security domain. There are also words from this which are being used in general life for gamers and cyber security people, like noob, which is written as N00B, PWN, which is used when you own any system. This is being derived from the word OWN, own. Like when you own a system, it's like you have pawned it. And then there are some words which represent hackers, like Haxor, HAXOR. These are just a slang type of words which we say. And even when you see, the Google Vulnerability Reward Program, BRP, actually they started with giving bounties, some rewards for the bounties which people actually are very curious to do nowadays. It's like they give from $100 to $31337. So they are actually, this 1337 is too much is in use in cyber security, and so many people means every now and then they'll use this term lead, elite, and a kind of things. So from starting itself, people use this words like noob and all in the gaming, and also, yeah, this kind of story is interesting. And this lead was started from a very olden age, and from there the cyber security has come to this level. It's very great. Yeah.
Okay, sir, you mentioned Google VRP. So, can you explain what is
Hmm.
bug bounty to the normal folks and how to get started with bug bounties?
Okay. So bug bounties are like when companies want to add some extra layer of security. It's like a penetration program, penetration testing program actually, where you get rewarded for finding security bugs and the ways to exploit them. Actually, what we learn over here is to do penetration testing also. So for this kind of things, you need some skills, which starts from the very basic levels, like in your bachelor's you might have studied about computer networking kind of things, some web protocols and all. Those are the basic things which you must know. Some hacking techniques you can practice. You can practice on some vulnerable machines like Vulhub machines are there. You can just Google it, Vulhub, and just get some machines over there, and you can practice on them. And if you want to practice like for vulnerabilities, you can practice in DVWA or BWAP. DVWA is like DRAM vulnerable web application penetration, where you can get so many different and so many different types of attacks, where you can see and visualize what types of attack on, and what types of attacks you can happen with any website or a database. And for a mobile infrastructure, you can practice in DIVA or OWASP security effort. This kind of things you can VM and all, and you can just means use any ML, and you can practice this mobile infrastructure. And the very important thing for any IT people or any cyber security people is please stay updated on current vulnerabilities. As he already mentioned, Aman has mentioned that Apple today released something like their sign-in problem has come, some bug has come, very old, and but it has been founded today. That has been updated. So that's for bug bounty, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. That is bug bounty. So one thing I would like to add, like the Apple bug with the Apple sign-in bug that was discovered today, the bug bounty hunter which discovered the bug was awarded 100 k dollars. I think 100. Let me check. Yeah, it's 100 k dollars. He got $1 lakh
Yeah.
from Apple and Hall of Fame for finding the vulnerability. So
Hmm.
it's a real
Yes.
job, you can say. So
Hmm.
we have covered a lot of questions today. So, but we still have more questions. So, sir, what are the advancement in cybersecurity? Like, what are you thinking of? Like, this is the bleeding edge technology which have introduced in the field.
Okay. See, as we were already talking about this, I would also like to discuss about the Uncover group. There's a group within the hacking community known as Uncover. They write as UNC0VER. They have claimed that they jailbreaked iOS versions between 11.0 to 13.5. They have jailbreaked all the iOS devices in the present scenario. So it's a very big thing for any forensic people and forensic students. Like they can now use their software. This is freely available. You can just go to their website, Uncover, and then you can download their packages, and then you can perform the jailbreak. And also the advancements we see in cybersecurity is like the companies are using this security orchestration and automation response tools uh, for minimizing the low level security events. Also the usage of XDR and those data leakage prevention tools and all have been increased in the recent times. And if you are aware of IoT, then I would say that for IoT security, and basically I'd like to add that Microsoft Research is adding on post-quantum cryptography on IoT security. So there are means advanced in this fields of cybersecurity. Every day we can see something new is being discovered and all. Recently, also this people have started working in means they are using IDS and I means in IDS and IPs they are using heuristics for anomaly detection and all. So this kind of things are being going on. So it's it's a field where research is very active and people are very active. Innovations in the company and so many places where researches are going on. You can get to know more and more day by day. Every day means your knowledge will increase.
Yes, like you covered the Uncover group. So there was a hashtag going, hashtag Uncover. So it was related to that
Yeah.
organization. They were saying like, if you jailbreak your device,
Mm.
please tweet it with hashtag Uncover. So, sir, can you explain what is a jailbreak for the people who don't know?
Yeah. See, actually, there are two things. This Android is something, and this uh, iOS is something different. Actually, their architecture, when you see, uh, Apple adds an extra security feature in every layer, right from the you can say the very low level to the upper level. From in the architecture, their architecture is in the hierarchical order, and you can see in every place they have added a, security layers. So it's like to enter into any means iOS device, you have to jailbreak it. Without jailbreaking any iOS device, you cannot get the access of the super user, the kernel access you cannot get, and you cannot means basically jailbreak is for the developers, and it's being misused by the hackers. Yes.
Yeah. And the routing for Android is equivalent to jailbreak of iOS devices.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, sir,
Yes,
as a
Anjan. Hello.
security professional, how do you deal with
Mhm.
any malware? Like while analyzing, or if you detect it on random machine, what will be your like mindset?
Okay, this is actually a very big question, but still I try to brief it. See, in malware analysis, there is two things. First is the static analysis, and the second one is dynamic analysis. In the static analysis, what actually we do is we see the we actually don't run any malware. If we have some suspicious file that it can be a malware, we actually don't run in the static analysis. We actually see the file types, their hashes, the strings. There are so many softwares, if you know from the Microsoft, like this internal tools and all, where you can actually find the strings, the hashes, and imports, exports, and kind of things. You can use those packages. And also we use VirusTotal. VirusTotal is a website where you can go and just put the file and check with they have a very big database, a very huge database, and it's being used by several other communities and the groups in this in the hacking community. So it's like you can just dump your file over there and check with any other files. They will check it automatically and they will show you like this is suspicious, this is 76% is virus, this is this, and this is that. You can see it from there. And in static analysis, the other thing which you can do is disassemble. Like if you are good with coding, okay, you can understand the codes, you can means know what is going in. So if you like to disassemble the code, you can actually use some softwares like IDA Pro and OD debug kind of softwares, where you can actually upload those file and you can directly see what's actually going through the codes, and you can analyze it. And then the second thing is the dynamic analysis. What actually in dynamic analysis happens is we have 4 different type of activities which we perform in dynamic analysis. The first one is the file system activity. The tool I mentioned was the sysinternal tools. It also provides means inside sysinternal there is another software which is known as procmon, which can be used to see if there are some changes which those malware is going to do in any file system. So this procmon is very essential kind of things. Then comes the process activity which we see. So the process activity, when you see for that you need some other tool. So again the same sysinternal, it gives you the proc explorer software where you can actually see what are the different changes in the processes being made by that malware while we run. And then the network activity we have to check. So if you are aware of Wireshark kind of things, you can see what are the things going on in the network. And finally it comes as the registry activity. So it's like we have a software known as RegShot. What actually we do is we take a shot of your system before running any malware, and the other shot is after the running the malware. So it's like just the comparing of both the files, and we'll see what actually is the difference and what that malware is doing. So these are the 2 steps which we follow: static analysis and dynamic analysis while analyzing any malware. Yeah.
Also, sir, when you are dealing with a malware, where do you like for the dynamic testing? Where do you test it? Like in a VM machine or your personal machine? Like, is there any difference between two?
See, if you want to run any malware, the first and the foremost thing I would suggest is run in a VM or run in any sandbox. There are several sandbox like Cuckoo and all, and also there are so many online available sandboxes where you can just run any malware and you can perform means install these tools and see what is happening. Yes.
So also, if we run a malware in the VM, does the malware identify like it is running on a real machine or a virtual machine?
Yes, kind of like if a malware author, they have used some anti-VM techniques. There are so many anti-VM techniques. Some basics of them are the VMware artifacts. Like if you are using VMware, so you might have been aware of those VMware tools. So if you are having installed those tools, actually the VMware, you can find the traces of those tools, VMware tools, on your file system, your registry, and your processes. So malware author can trace them. So they can identify and differentiate between a virtual machine or your host machine. Also, when you use a VMware, um, you might notice that the MAC address will always start with 000C29 always. So it's like that is also a method to differentiate between VM and your host PC, host machine. So and some red pill techniques and no pill techniques are there. Actually, if you know assembly, you might be knowing about some data, CPU's internal data structures, which OS is using. So those kind of things like which users can directly get access without getting any permission from any super user or kernel level permissions without getting that. So what malware authors do is they just use those instructions and they are getting those access to those tables, and they can differentiate very easily between the VMware or your host. And means finally means I can say in this, if you are using any software, if a VM or any kind of software you're using, please don't use the older version, because the older versions might have some vulnerabilities which might not have been addressed. So what happens is, if you are using an older version of VM, suppose, so malware authors can means use those vulnerabilities actually, and they can just identify that you are using a VM. Yeah, that might be enough, I guess.
Also, sir, if we are running the malware in VM, does our host machine have any effect of the malware, or is it safe from the malware?
Not exactly, because in recent times, what I have come through is, uh, if you might have heard about Hyper-V being provided by Microsoft itself. It's just an inbuilt VM, for suppose. Means it's actually a VM provided by Microsoft and it's inbuilt. But what actually they do is, in background, they uses RDP's control plane. So instead of re-implementing the screen sharing, remote keyboard and all, what they are doing, that the RDP already has these features, so they are just using those features. But what happens is, RDP has some vulnerabilities like clipboard hijacking and path traversal kind of vulnerabilities. These vulnerabilities can be misused by the malwares or the viruses, and the viruses can break out of VM and reach to the host. So this might be a problem sometimes, but actually it's very recent findings which I can say I have come through. Yeah.
Okay, sir. So, sir, we have heard a lot about the dark web and its anonymity. As a security professional, do you think, like, if I was using Tor and did something legal or illegal, will the organization will be able to track me, or can my history and logs be investigated?
See, it is a very interesting question. I'll tell about some things in this. Uh, if you are the owner of some web pages, like you have some domain names and all, and you know whether your domain something from your domain leading into the dark web, there is a tool by Immuniweb. Actually, this is known as dark web monitoring tool, where okay, this is a very interesting question for the guys who have just started, using Tor kind of things and all. So yeah, there are some tools which can help to investigate. There is, if you are having a domain name, then you can and you want to know that whether something from your domain being leaked to a dark web, you can use a means a tool which is provided by Immuniweb. They provide a tool which is named as dark web monitoring tool, where you can just enter the domain name and check your exposure in dark web. Also, there are some tools like Onion Scan, which is used for dark web investigation. What it actually does is, it detects a web server, and the tool will scan for the client's IP, their open directories, the EXIF tags, cryptocurrency clients, the information about SSH and other protocols. Uh, EXIF, I can say, if you know about EXIF, it's an exchangeable image file format. What it does is, it contains some metadata like informations like the image dimensions, date and time, model from through which the pic is been captured, its settings, and most importantly, the geolocation. Recently, a group of researchers have found 229 drug dealers in the dark web. So there are some things which you must be aware of. So EXIF tags must always be taken care of, and the tools like Onion Scan and dark web monitoring tool is helpful for investigation and kind of things.
That's very informative. Okay, sir, we have reached the end of our list.
Aman, sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to ask two questions from sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Uh, Sir, as GFSU is now a national institute,
Hmm.
and you guys would be working for creating a better cybersecurity infrastructure for the country,
Yes.
I just wanted to ask,
Hmm.
where does India stand in the cybersecurity
See,
domain?
a very good question this is, but I would say that in this whole world, 40% of the renowned hackers are from India. You must be aware of it. If you are just entered, you must know this, that 40% of the present hackers in the world which are renowned, and the top 40% are Indians. You might have come across the names like some Tyagi, Vivek
Rahul Tyagi.
Ramachandran.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vivek Ramachandran. Uh, Vivek Ramachandran has a very good knowledge, I would say, because I
Yeah, he have invented the cafe latte attack for Wi-Fi
yeah,
networks.
the cafe latte attack. It was a very famous attack, which he came through, and then he, after that, he started giving courses to the young individuals, which is very inspirational
Pentestedacademy.com.
for. Yeah, Pentested Academy is being founded by him, and he has been awarded by several very big authors and all. Like, he has written some books, helped in writing some books. So it's very nice. There is a publication which is named as Packet, PACKT. Some authors of Packet publications are from India, and even some of them are from our college itself, GFSU.
Sir, as we are talking about Vivek Ramachandran,
Hmm.
and as we all know, he has one of the India's most renowned startups in
Hmm.
cybersecurity domain. As we
Hmm.
know, during this COVID situation, day by day,
Hmm.
the COVID cases are rising, as well
Hmm.
as the level of threats in the digital world is also rising.
Hmm.
Do you think post COVID is the best time for the cybersecurity startups?
See, if you're talking about startups, I could say doing a cybersecurity startup is not at all a very bad idea. You can obviously start a group of some enthusiastic cybersecurity personals, like who are very interested in doing pen testing. You can contact some companies for it, but see, the companies actually look for some experienced candidates. So you can build your company. You can just start the startups, and you can first approach to the small companies, get some experience from them, and then you can approach big companies. You can start with doing auditing, security auditing, of course, and then you can slowly and gradually you can go for penetration testing, and slowly you will definitely grow. And this is a very good domain where you can always think of starting a startup.
Yeah. Sir, also I would like to ask, what are the different positions in a company regarding the cybersecurity field?
Okay, so positions, I would like to mention the entry level positions only, because as I know that all are from Triple IT who will be watching this, so they might be interested in joining some jobs in companies. So basic entry level jobs for security personals will be the security auditor, L1 analyst in some companies. Whenever you start in any company as an analyst, they will give you the position of L1 first of all, and then gradually you will go to L2, and finally you will become CISO and all kind of things. You can also join as junior pen tester, uh, risk analyzer, or risk assessment kind of domain is also there, which companies actually hire for them. And of course, malware analyst is a very good domain where so many people are being hired nowadays.
Okay, sir. Also, sir, what are the learning paths, different learning paths to become a cybersecurity expert?
See, learning path I already means I think have mentioned in that's bug bounty question. I think because you asked about the how to do the bug bounty. So I have already said that you have to have the knowledge of computer networking, understanding of web protocols and all, practicing on Vulhub machines. This kind of things I have said already. So you can practice obviously in DVWA and DIVA kind of things I have said. So that's means the very basic as you can start for cyber security.
Yeah. Also, sir, the environment right here in triple ITNR is not quite, I say, in favor of cybersecurity. There are, I think, 11 to 12 people who are working in the field in our college. And I think, like, if you can give some tips from your present college to your juniors, they might listen to you. Or
Or
Yeah.
some words of motivation will also work.
Okay. See, first of all, in Triple IT, there is no such environment for cybersecurity. You have to ask the administration to provide you some separate labs for which is totally air gapped, because there is always a risk when you do some penetration testing or something. There is always a risk that you can harm your system or you can harm someone else. So it would be better that you start with a air gapped system network. So you ask the administration to have separate lab, keep 15 people on two sides, one for the red team and the one for the blue team. The red team can attack on the blue team and blue team can just save themselves. So in this way, you can create an environment of cybersecurity and you can learn a lot from there. So many things are there. There is a data diode kind of things which is used in our college. It's like data can be passed from one place, but it cannot receive the data. So data diode kind of things are there. There are some firewalls which can be means put there so that those blue team can be there, use them. And for red teams, there are so many different tools available which you can use, and you can generate some attack. You can perform some scans on them, flood them, and means totally break their network. You can do a lot of good things and learn a very good things by creating this atmosphere. And as I think, definitely people will join you when first start these things. That will be quite interesting, I guess.
so we will try our best. Also, sir, what was your like most favorite incident in respect to cybersecurity, like a recent hack or some tool released by NSA?
See, if you are asking for what I have done in recent time, um, then I can say what I told you earlier, that mall groups where I went to work, that was something very interesting for me. And if you are talking about in the domain of cybersecurity, what is something interesting here is like now I'm actually going through the learning assembly languages, because in triple IT, when we were studying, we were not having this assembly language course. And for being a security researcher and security analyst, you must have some knowledge of assembly language. It helps a lot in malware analysis.
Yeah. So, are there any tips to stay safe on the internet?
Yes, I have gone through some of the posts of CypherCell itself. There were so many interesting posts. One more you can include in that is threat pinch, if you might be aware of threat pinch. this is actually a you can say in Chrome there is some extensions, like so one of those extension is ThreadPinch. Actually, what happens in ThreadPinch is if you find any thing suspicious or something which is you think is not good, you can just paste those link or email, or you can check whether it's genuine or not, whether it's means something. In day-to-day life you come across so many websites which you think might be actually um, sending some viruses to you and all. You might be very suspicious, so you can use that. And other thing is in mobile phones you can install a application. Actually the name is Hakuna, HACKUNA. Actually using this app you can be little means you can feel like you are secure, because when you are using some public Wi-Fi or free Wi-Fi, there is always a risk of the attackers who can attack you. So if you are using this app, you can easily know who are the potential hackers in recent circle wherever you are in your surrounding, and how to means identify them, who are the people who are actually hacking, trying to hack you, or who are the how to report it to the concerned authorities and all. Also if you're having some apps downloaded from third party, you can be means you can feel secure, like keeping Hakuna app can give you some tips, like they can scan, they can give you tips, and they will say this app is taking more permissions than required. You can just delete it from there itself. So in short, this Hakuna app is very good for being installing. If you have not installed, please go ahead and give it a try.
Thank you so much, sir. Is there anything that you would like to add?
I think it's already 1 hour I have been speaking.
Yes, sir.
You can definitely conduct sessions after this for some live practical demos and all on some topics. You can definitely contact me anytime. If I'm free, I'll definitely like to join you.
Yeah, that will be great, sir. Also, sir, what do you
Yeah.
think of CypherCell? How it's doing like in cybersecurity field? Like there was no cybersecurity club earlier to the group.
See, you have just started. So any group which you are starting, first of all, you need support of your own batch. First of all, you cannot be relying on other batches. What actually you can do is create this labs, which I already told Sivans, that those labs can definitely help you a lot. You can gain support from different people, because once you install systems over there, people will come to know about the technologies or the tools which are being installed, and that will definitely make people curious, and they will definitely join you more and more. The Instagram page can be more active of CypherCell. You can actually means go through some websites like the Hacker News kind of things, where you can daily you can you see what new things are being coming up. You can go to the Port Swinger websites, where so many data sheets are available for what are the things being done in cybersecurity, how the things are being hacked and all. Everything is available. You can use those, read from there, gain some knowledge, and make people aware. You have some audience. You can in your pages and all, you can make them aware daily of some new things that will definitely encourage them and motivate them to join you in further sessions. And believe me, cybersecurity is very good field if you are talking about. And COVID-19, you can see that people are being removed from their jobs. Their recession has come, and but in cybersecurity, you can see
Yeah,
there is
there's no
yeah
recession in InfoSec.
yeah and more people are being
It will
recruited.
create, yeah, it will create more and more jobs after the post
Yeah.
COVID.
Hmm.
Yeah, sir. That sir, we also want to create some awareness among our students. That's why we want to make our sessions more interesting and interesting. That's why we have introduced CTF also. We have organized
Yeah.
and CTF also, so that people can know about the different type of aspects among
Hmm.
that.
Yeah, I have also means I was also a part of your CTF. I just joined it. I just played for 3 to 4 hours. I saw the questions were nice, though the websites went up and down for some time, but it was okay. Kind of good start. You can always get some good uh, Rift was also good, but you can also get some good collaborations for conducting those CTFs. And if you're experienced enough, you can definitely create your own CTFs. Get some questions from internet, call your groups, give them those things, and tell them to means decrypt and see what other things, find the flags and this kind of things. It's very interesting. It's like a game, and this Hakuna app, this also giving some games and all also in cybersecurity, those jump wild words and kind of things. This kind of things are will make you more interested towards this field.
Shivansh, would you like to ask any more questions?
I I think I have asked everything, and
Yeah, okay. So
it's
thank you,
done.
sir, for joining us today. It was a very informative session.
Thank you very much.
We hope to see you in
So
our
okay,
future sessions
yeah.
also.
Hmm. Okay, sure.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.